Imagine for a moment, you're sitting across from Jesus, pouring out your worries and fears. How do you think he'd respond?
In moments like that, I picture him offering this deep sense of calm, almost like a gentle pause in the middle of chaos. His words in Matthew 11:28 always echo in my mind. "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest."
That verse has carried me through some restless nights. There's something about being invited to lay down our burdens that just feels so personal, almost like he's speaking directly to whatever's weighing us down today.
It's that personal touch that stands out to me too. Even when life feels overwhelming, it's like he's saying, "I see you, and I want to give you peace." Makes you wonder how his guidance could shape our ordinary struggles, right?
You know, these days, anxiety seems to creep in from every corner. Work, family, even just scrolling the news. No wonder we crave something steady to hold on to.
Totally get that. I find myself searching for reassurance when things get unpredictable. There's almost this instinct, like our hearts are wired to seek comfort when the world feels out of control.
It's kind of amazing that even thousands of years ago, people felt the same way. That's probably why Jesus' promise of rest still resonates so much now.
Exactly, those words cut across time. When everything around us shifts, knowing there's a source of peace who gets our struggles, it's powerful.
Something about Jesus' invitation feels different from the usual self-help advice out there. It's not just think positive or try harder. It's an open door to real connection.
That stands out to me too. Instead of more demands, he offers rest, almost a reversal of what we expect. Most solutions tell us to do more, but he's saying, "Come as you are."
And it's not conditional either. There's no fine print. If you're weary, you're welcome. That changes how I see spirituality, less about measuring up, more about being honest.
It's freeing, honestly. When I remember that, I feel less pressure to fix everything on my own.
I'm curious, for you, what does it actually look like to experience that rest Jesus talks about? Is it a feeling, a mindset, or something else?
For me, it's like this inner exhale. Sometimes it comes during prayer, or even just a quiet minute with a cup of coffee. It's not always about circumstances changing, but more about not carrying the weight alone.
I love that. There are days I'll just whisper, "Help me." And even if nothing outside shifts, I feel lighter inside. It's almost mysterious how that works.
Yeah, almost like he meets us right in the middle of our mess and gives us a break from striving.
Stepping back, I notice how hard it is to let go of the drive to handle everything. We're so programmed to push through, aren't we?
That hits home for me. Even when I want to rest, I'll catch myself making mental checklists or replaying worries. Letting go feels like an act of trust, not just a decision.
It really does. There's a vulnerability in admitting, I can't do this alone. But sometimes, that's the doorway to peace.
And I think that's exactly what Jesus is inviting us into, not just physical rest, but soul-deep trust.
There are definitely moments when doubt sneaks in, and I start wondering, does this offer of rest really apply to me, with all my messiness?
Oh, I've been there too. Sometimes my first reaction is, surely, he means someone else. But the more I sit with those words, the more I realize he really does mean us even on our worst days.
That's reassuring to hear. I guess it takes practice to accept that grace, especially when self-doubt feels so familiar.
It does. But every time we turn back to that invitation, it's like hitting a reset button for our hearts.
So, if someone's listening and wants to actually take Jesus up on this invitation, where's a good place to start?
Sometimes the simplest way is to pause and be honest. Just tell him what's heavy. I'll write it down in a journal or pray out loud, even if it's messy.
Journaling has helped me too. It's like emptying the backpack of worries for a second, and the act of naming them makes it easier to hand them over.
That's exactly it. Letting go doesn't always mean instant peace, but it opens the door for his comfort to come in.
Funny thing, when I start letting Jesus' peace in, I notice it changes how I relate to people. I'm less snappy, more patient.
I see that too. When my heart isn't in overdrive, it's easier to listen, to forgive, to give others the benefit of the doubt. It's almost contagious in the best way.
It's like peace flows outward, not just inward. Imagine if whole families, or even communities, operated out of that rest instead of stress.
That could really transform how we show up for each other, less reacting, more responding with grace.
You ever have those days when the heaviness feels extra thick, like nothing's working and hope feels far away?
I remember just last week, things piled up and I hit a wall. In those times, returning to Jesus' promise, "Come to me," became an anchor, even when answers weren't clear.
I felt that too. Just holding on to that invitation, even quietly, feels like hope flickering back to life.
Sometimes hope starts small, just enough light to get through the next step, but his words keep that light from going out.
Another thing that shows up for me is guilt, like I'm not doing enough, or I don't deserve rest. It's a tough cycle to break.
That's painfully familiar. There have been times I almost feel bad for asking God for rest, as if I haven't earned it. But Jesus never puts earning conditions on his invitation.
That's such a relief to remember. It's easy to get lost in the shoulds and forget that he just wants us to come, no qualifiers.
Right. He meets us in our honest moments, not our perfect ones. That's a game changer.
Honestly, I could use reminders throughout the day. Life gets so busy that it's easy to forget this invitation even exists.
That's why I leave little notes for myself on my mirror, in my phone, even on the fridge. It's like building mini pit stops for my soul during the day.
Love that idea. Even a short breath prayer, like Jesus, "I come to you now," can be a reset. It doesn't need to be complicated.
Exactly. Small reminders make it real, turning ancient words into daily life.
Before we wrap up, I want to say to anyone listening, you're not alone, whatever you're carrying today.
That's so important. Every journey looks different, but Jesus' invitation is for each of us, every single day. If you're tired, it's okay to come just as you are.
It takes courage to be honest with ourselves and God, but every small step toward Him brings a bit more peace.
And sometimes, those small steps add up in ways we don't even see until later. Keep moving forward, even if it's just a tiny bit today.
So as we close, maybe pause for a moment. What's one burden you could bring to Jesus today?
I'll be thinking about that too. There's so much freedom in simply coming, without having it all figured out.
Thanks for sharing this space with us. Remember, you're invited to rest, no matter what's on your plate.
Wishing everyone listening a gentle week ahead.
You know, when I
filled
think
with
about everyday
unexpected
struggles
moments of
like that,
peace.
sinking feeling of being left out at a party or freezing up before a big presentation, I always wonder how faith actually helps in those moments.
That really hits home for me. I remember last month I walked into a room full of people I didn't know, and my heart was pounding. The fear was real. Sometimes the idea that Jesus could be part of that moment feels almost surprising, but also comforting.
It's so true. It's easy to talk about faith in the abstract, but when you're in the thick of anxiety or feeling alone, it gets tricky. I sometimes just wish for a sense that someone gets what I'm going through, you know?
Absolutely, and that's where I find the message of Jesus stands out. He's not just offering advice from a distance, there's this sense that he's actually with you, even in the messiest moments.
What's wild is how a single line from Scripture can bring so much calm. Like, there's this verse in John 14:27, where Jesus says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you."
That verse has gotten me through some rough patches. It's not just pretty words, it feels like a direct promise. Even on days when my thoughts are racing, remembering those words slows everything down a bit.
It's like someone handing you an umbrella in the middle of a storm doesn't stop the rain, but suddenly you're not getting soaked alone.
What I love is the invitation not to let your hearts be troubled or afraid. It's such a gentle nudge, like, I know it's hard, but you're not alone in this.
Sometimes I try to picture what Jesus would actually say if we could hear him right in those anxious moments.
I've done that too. If I'm spiraling, I imagine him saying, "You're not alone, I'm with you." That little mental shift changes how I handle everything, even if nothing outside me changes.
Last week, for example, I was feeling super isolated, and just sitting quietly, picturing that assurance, actually softened the edge of my loneliness.
That's such a powerful practice. It makes faith feel personal, not just a set of beliefs. When I'm nervous before a big meeting, imagining that kind of encouragement gives me strength to walk in.
It's funny, so often we treat prayer or faith like a formal event, but in moments of fear or anxiety, it feels more like a real conversation happening under our breath all day long.
That's the beauty of it. Faith isn't just for Sundays or quiet moments, it's woven into our daily lives. When I'm anxious, those silent prayers or reminders actually become my lifeline.
Totally. And it's those little, honest exchanges, just a whispered help or stay with me, that seem to matter most when things get overwhelming.
Exactly. It's not about having fancy words, but about being real. Those simple moments of reaching out can turn the tide on a tough day.
Hearing all this, I'm reminded that faith isn't some distant thing. It's alive, practical, and present in our daily struggles. That actually gives me hope, even when things feel tough.
Same here. And honestly, that's what keeps me going, knowing that those words from Jesus aren't just from the past, but meant for each of us, right here, right now.
I love that. So for anyone listening who's facing fear or loneliness today, maybe just taking the next small step, remembering you're not alone, is enough.
And maybe that's the real encouragement. We don't have to figure it out all at once. Just letting those words sink in can bring peace, even if it's just for a moment.
You know, as we wrap up today's journey, I keep thinking about what it means to really hear a voice of hope, especially when life throws curveballs. For so many, that voice comes from Jesus, reminding us not to give up.
There's something kind of remarkable about that, isn't there? Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I remember that Jesus' love isn't conditional. It doesn't hinge on me getting it all right. That knowledge alone gives me the courage to face hard days.
It's like a safety net, knowing whatever happens, you're still loved. I think a lot of people need to hear that, especially when they're feeling isolated or unsure.
I find myself needing that reminder more often than I'd like to admit. But the idea that we're never really alone, even at our lowest, has carried me through some pretty dark times.
So, when we talk about unconditional love, what stands out to you? For me, it means loving with zero strings attached, which is honestly so rare in real life.
That's true, and it's wild to think how rarely we experience that kind of love. Most relationships have unspoken expectations, but Jesus flips that idea on its head. His love just is, no matter what we've done or where we've been.
Honestly, I think that's why it's so comforting. There's nothing you can do to make him love you less or more. It's steady, no matter how messy you feel.
Messy feels like the right word. Yet that's when we need love the most. And somehow, that's exactly when it's offered without reservation.
All of this talk about unconditional love actually makes me think about courage. If we know we're loved no matter what, doesn't that make it a little easier to be brave in our everyday lives?
Totally. I've noticed that when I really believe I'm loved, I'm less afraid to take risks or to reach out to others. It's almost like love acts as a kind of shield when I'm stepping into the unknown.
And that courage can show up in such ordinary ways, like sharing a struggle with a friend or choosing kindness when it'd be easier to walk away.
Absolutely. Courage doesn't always look big or dramatic. Sometimes it's just saying, I need help, or I forgive you. Those little moments are where faith gets really practical.
That's the perfect lead-in to one of my favorite verses, John 15:12. Jesus says, "Love each other as I have loved you." It's simple but so challenging in real life.
It really is. Whenever I read those words, I feel both inspired and a little overwhelmed. Loving others the way Jesus does means setting aside ego and letting people in, even when it's uncomfortable.
And it's not just about loving people who are easy to love. Sometimes it's about being patient with someone who's testing your every nerve, or forgiving when it feels impossible.
I've definitely had days like that, but every time I try, even if it's messy or awkward, it feels like I'm building a stronger foundation for my faith and my relationships.
You know, before we say goodbye, I want to encourage everyone listening, don't just leave these words here. Bring this conversation with Jesus into your daily routines. Faith isn't just for the quiet moments, it's for the chaos too.
That's such a good point. I've found that even a small daily reminder like jotting down that verse, or just pausing to breathe and remember you're not alone can totally shift my perspective.
And on the especially tough days, those reminders can be lifelines. May the words of Jesus guide your heart, keep you hoping, and remind you you really are never alone. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for sharing this space with us. Keep faith, keep hope, and let's keep loving each other just a little more bravely, one day at a time.